Hello, I'm back. Penny here with some very unpopular views about the brand everybody loves to hate, Rolex. Okay, guys, listen up. I know these are going to be unpopular views. I know my millions of subscribers are going to unsubscribe and leave me angry comments. I get it. I get the culture that we're living in. But I just feel like I have to speak up on this, guys. I have some things to say. I hope it's clear and that I can express myself, as well as possible to make these points. But one of the things I've been thinking a lot lately is there's a lot of discourse, there's a lot of conversation about how fed up people are with Rolex. They're fed up with the 80s, they're fed up with the brand's tactics, the 80s tactics, because you got to separate to an extent the 80s from the brand. But the 80s tactics are turning people off the brand, and they don't want to, have anything to do with Rolex. They wouldn't wear a Rolex if you paid them, etc., etc. I just want to speak to that a little bit as a Rolex lover, and obviously I'm coming from this at an angle from a position of somebody who enjoys Rolex. They just strike a chord with me. Federico said on his channel that Rolex is the Toyota, of the watch world. It's so basically mundane. It's nothing special. It's not high horology. It's just very capable Toyota. You know what? I'll give him that. Toyotas are great cars. We have a Toyota. We have a couple, we have other cars, but I have had lots of Toyotas and they're very durable, run for miles and miles and miles. You cannot kill a Toyota. It will run for 200, 300, whatever. That thing, unless the frame starts falling apart and rotting, that thing will continue to run. So that is what it is. But look at the brands of cars that, are out there on the road. Rolex is just like that. It's very, very, very common. So I'll give you all of that. For me, it strikes the right chord. I like the oyster case. I tend to like the sports models. Really also like the dressier pieces, or the classic pieces like the Datejust. It just works for me. I must be a middle of the road type of watch consumer to kind of prefer, Rolex to other things, because that's just, it does it for me. So I'm coming at this challenge, this question, and this feedback from the community from that angle of somebody that really does enjoy Rolex. So there are a few things that I think about here. And one is that people say, look, you used to be able to just get a Rolex, and now you can't get a Rolex without going through all these hoops and playing all these games. Not so. Objection, Your Honor. That is not so. You can get a Rolex today at the clickety-click of your fingertips with no problem. And you don't have to pay these sky-high prices either. Let's talk about it for a second. What's available? You've got beautiful, amazing 5-digit, those pre-ceramic Submariners, $8,000, $9,000. Those are coming in, by the way, around the same price, maybe a little hair above a ceramic sub, a 6-digit ceramic sub, brand new from the AD, is around the price now of your used, your pre-owned, very classic styling and generation, arguably the better piece, right? The better fitting, better design piece. You can get that around the price of a new one. So you got Submariners for days, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of Submariners out there on the pre-owned market that you can own today. Same with your Milgauss. You actually get the current model Milgauss for around retail price. If you want to get a pre-owned Milgauss, go for it. You're going to find it $8,000, $9,000 for one that's been a couple of years old. You also could get the brand new one, the one that I have, with this year's date on the card, probably for a little bit more than retail with taxes, maybe around $10,000, right? They're going for around 10. And out the door, that's approximate to what you'll pay, a little hair above, I think, what you would pay if you're getting it from an AD. Yacht Masters are out there. Explorer 2s. Explorer 2 40 millimeter, the better Explorer 2, $8,000. You can get the 16570 in black or the polar dial. It's going to be a little bit more. White seems to be more popular for Rolex. You can get that around $9,000, but you can get the black one for $8,000 in the eights, right? So those prices are rising, but I would say, as far, given what we're talking about here, they're not out of the realm of possibility. You've got a lot of models out there. You've got Yachtmaster. Really like that all silver or the platinum dial Yachtmaster, that looks basically all silver, but it's platinum on the bezel. You can get that for a fair price. You can get the blue Yachtmaster. I mean, prices have been rising for a lot of brands, the upper echelon brands and Rolex. If you want to separate Rolex from upper echelon brands, fine. But prices have been steadily rising for a number of reasons. And let's think about Rolex's, the reasons why prices are so crazy and the demand is so crazy. Guys, it's so many factors. It's not just the brand. It's not just the ADs. It's stuff like social media driving things up, people seeing what these are, and yes, the flex culture, the influence culture, all of that stuff driving it up. You have demand, you have global demand being much more than supply. So Rolex, in order to really control and deal with the global demand, would need to increase production. That doesn't fit with their business model. Who are we to say, Rolex, this is how you should run your company, make more watches? When we all know full well, guys, when you could get these watches and they were sitting in the case, there was none of this hysteria. People were not, wanting what they could get necessarily. So those are some of the complicated reasons, the factors why the shortage exists, and you can't buy them from the AD without having a relationship, without playing some of the game, but you can very well go buy them pre-owned or at market price. I don't see the problem with that, guys. You could say, Penny, come on, Penny, you're sipping the Kool-Aid. Listen, you already have a relationship with 2 ADs, so of course you're going to defend this system. Well, guys, I'm not defending it. I'm not saying it's a fair system. I'm saying it is what it is, but I don't understand the constant complaining about the system. All right, it's very straightforward to me. If you really love the brand and you really love the watches, then go buy the dang gone watches. Go buy them pre-owned. If you really love Rolex and you really like those models, you can shop for a sub and buy a great sub all day. If you want the new sub, instead of paying the $8,100 or $8,600 out the door for a no date sub, you just go ahead and you buy it at market price for $12,000, $13,000. Okay, you're gonna pay an upcharge, but who's to say that the retail price really means anything these days? There's a lot that is fiction about currency, and I think the retail price for luxury goods is a fiction. You see this with AP, you see this with Patek, and even though Rolex is not at the same level as Patek and AP, it doesn't make any darn sense either, the price of a Royal Oak. If you want the blue dial, 15,500, what are those, $40,000, $50,000? It's more than double the price of that. We would say the same thing. That's not worth that, but that's the market price. I really don't entirely understand the culture around complaining about it. If you like the watch, go buy the watch. If you don't like the watch and you don't like the brand, there really shouldn't be much else to say about that except don't like the watch, don't like the brand. It's not for me. But what we are seeing and what we're hearing is a lot more emotionality than that, which to me tends to mean it's something else. It's not as straightforward as people are out of love with the brand. No, there is a desire and a want and a longing there, and it's just not being fulfilled. And I think that's why there's so many rants, there's so many takedowns, there's so much of a community of hate around Rolex, is because at the end of the day, people are saying they're fed up with it, but they don't really mean it. At the end of the day, they still kind of want that Daytona. They still kind of want that Pepsi GMT, right? And we have to ask, why do we want those watches? Those are the ones that double in value right out the door. And I think it's very hard to separate that fact from the whole situation. It's a paradox. The reason they double right out the door is because supply is greater than demand. But we wouldn't want them so much for many people if supply wasn't greater than demand and if they didn't double in price. So you get a ceramic Pepsi, I don't know, what is it, 13,000, maybe 11,000, I don't know, but it's definitely like 22 or 23,000 on the gray market. So people want that watch. That's the one they want. And why do they want that when you can go buy a pre-ceramic Pepsi, the 5-digit Pepsis, the vintage Pepsis with all the history? You can get it cheaper than that, for sure, cheaper than the market price, for sure. Why is there so much static and so much energy around getting the ones that are hard to get? Again, supply being lower than demand. Did I say supply greater than demand before? I might have messed that up, but supply is lower than demand. Demand is higher than supply. And I think that drives the desire, that drives some of the energy, that it's like not rational how people are feeling and talking about this brand at this point. And so I think you have to take a look at yourself and say, why am I so mad? What do I want from the brand that I can't get today? What do I want? I mean, again, I have some Rolex. I don't have everything I want from Rolex. I want a stainless steel Daytona. I really do. I think the chances of me getting one, to be honest, are probably about 2%, if even that. That might be generous. I have a 2% chance of getting a stainless steel Daytona at retail. It's just what it is. I accept that I'll probably never get that watch. And unless I want to go pay $30,000 for it. And I don't. I find that $30,000 is not worth it to me. For $30,000, I'd rather do a lot of other things with our money. And if it was a watch, I'd rather have a different watch at that price point. But I feel like I can make a cool, even-headed and collected assessment about that. And it just is what it is. I won't get a Daytona, and I'm not going to go, typing on my keyboard how angry I am about how the games that Rolex is playing. So I think you have to look at it in terms of individual watches. And because right now it feels like it's so abstract. People are just so mad and saying so many things about the brand and about ADs, but I think we need to isolate it and think about what is the watch that this person is mad about. When you generalize and you're talking about the brand in general and the brand image in general, I think that there's probably more to the story than that. What can the brand do to change all of that other than produce a hell of a lot more watches, right? Or strip this AD status from all of their ADs, and then Rolex has got to pop up its boutiques all over the place, but that's not going to increase supply either. Look at the models that AP has. You've got AP boutiques, you've got AP controlling its distribution, and that does not make that necessarily much more accessible at all. You're going to have fewer locations. You're still going to have the human factor of people giving preferences to people that they connect with or whatever. You're still going to have so many variables in play that even if Rolex dealt with their AD problem, that wouldn't necessarily lead to more watches for the end consumer. And then you also have to think about it as, if they saturated the market, what would their brand identity be like? No one would freaking want them. It's just the way this stuff works from a psychological standpoint, the psychology of consumerism. So guys, I think that, I just had to vent this, that I don't know why people are so focused on this aspect of it. If there is a Rolex that is out there that you want, go and get it. If it's too much, then you're making that decision that I don't want to pay market price for it. But when you get mad, when people are like, I'm mad that I can't get the Daytona at retail, or I can't get a Pepsi at retail. To me, that's sort of, are we at that point being a little entitled, saying, well, look, This is the retail price, even though it's a fiction, and sometimes sticker prices are fiction, like the MSRP on a car is a fiction. When you go to the car dealership and you're trying to buy a car, it's a whole negotiation process. The sticker price is a fiction, guys. So the retail price of Rolex is that kind of fiction. It's the same with other aspects of commerce these days. It's and currency, it's a fiction. So to say that you must have the watch, you must have the GMT, you must have the Batman or whatever at retail price is already, a flaw, because we're trying to stick to this false price. This is a fake price now in this market. And if you want the Batman, you want the BLNR, you go pay $17,000 for it. And that's where people are getting mad. They're like, it's not worth $17,000. Then don't pay $17,000. But then you're making that decision that it's not worth $17,000 to you, right? And then the market could correct for that if enough people do that. But I don't understand all this static and this anger around it, other than to say that, well, maybe we feel entitled to buy something at retail price. We feel like if they offer it at retail price, we should all get it at retail price. And that's just simply not how it works. I'm used to not getting what I want in life. There are lots of things that I want in life, and I'm used to not getting them. Even when you're in the right place at the right time and you've done the right things, it doesn't mean that it always works out for you. And this is just one way in which that is true. One of the reasons I wanted to make this kind of video was just because it seems like people are stuck in an abusive relationship or something with Rolex that is completely their undoing, with lots of rants and lots of energy and lots of anger about this. And I'm like, this company is not doing anything to you. If you like the watch and you appreciate the watches, buy the watch. Figure it out, buy the watch, and if you want a particular model, really investigate why it has to be that model at that price. Again, you can get a current Explorer, with the orange hand, the 42 millimeter Explorer 2 at retail price, above retail price if you're paying market price, which is actually not that bad for that one. Or you can go ahead and get the previous generation for a really good price. It's kind of like PlayStation 5s right now, or whatever they are, Xbox Series, the hell is it, Series 10? I don't know what it is. The new game systems. They're hot to get. They're hard to get. You remember when the iPhones first came out, people waiting in lines and stuff? We've seen these kinds of cycles happen before. Who's to say what exactly will happen with this particular one? But there are a lot of examples in the marketplace where the retail price for something is just not the real price, and people adjust to it and they deal with it. With Rolex in the watch enthusiast community, it's starting to feel incredibly toxic. And I think the part that feels toxic is just all the negative energy that people who like Rolex get because they enjoy Rolex, but also just this communal bonding around how horrible this brand is. And really the underlying issue is that people can't get what they want, which is an asset, a product that appreciates. They want the ones that are doubling in value and that are the hot commodities, and they want to be the ones to get them. And if you could get them, if you and I could get those watches so easily, they wouldn't be doubling and tripling in value, and we wouldn't want them in the same way. Guaranteed. So it all just feels like, guys, this part of it is not fun. And to me, if you don't want to build a relationship with the 80s, or you can't do that, but you love Rolex, you've got lots of options. If you are on the fence and don't really love Rolex, then it's not for you. It just seems as simple as that. So guys, that's all I have to say about that. I don't understand it. I probably won't understand it fully because I genuinely like the brand. And let me tell you guys, if my AD's closed today and I have no relationships, you know what I'm gonna buy next is my next Rolex? I'm gonna buy a pre-owned, a vintage GMT, because they're out there and I can get them. I mean, I would like that even more than a ceramic probably, but I'll take a ceramic if I could get one. I'm gonna find the deals and the bargains, and they're available all day long. Why on earth, wouldn't you buy an Air King that you can get for a good price? Or again, the Milgauss. You can find the Coke, the Coke GMT. That's a unique piece. You won't see people wearing a Yachtmaster, especially the platinum version of it. You can get that. It's just that people who are complaining seem to want the same watches, and to me, you're part of the problem. All right, those are my tough love words, guys. At the end of the day, this hobby is supposed to be fun. This is just one aspect of the culture that I don't fully understand. I'm sure you'll come at me with the comments. My millions of subscribers will unsubscribe, but it's okay. I'm a big girl. I can handle it. Peace.